Everyone's back in Canberra today for the first time since the election. Parliament resumes technically from tomorrow. Today we did see the new Governor-General, David Hurley, sworn in, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But the big debate today, even before the ceremonial opening of Parliament tomorrow and before they actually get down to some business on legislation tomorrow night, well, the big debate is tax cuts. And what will Labor do? Is it going to actually allow the government, once it's had its argument over splitting up the tax cuts, deferring the vote on the final stage, is it going to allow the government to pass the entire tax package, or will it vote no in the end? Well, today, the Labor caucus has held its first post-election meeting, and the various factions have held their meetings as well. In the full caucus meeting, I'm told there were very differing views put. Some believe, ultimately, after they've had their argument over splitting off stage 3 of the tax cuts, they should wave through the entire tax package. Others say that they should vote no to the entire tax package if it gets to that point, because there's too much going to the top end and it's too far down the track in 2024 to bake that into the budget right now. So very differing views, very widely differing views in the full caucus meeting. Others in some of the factional meetings today also expressed concern they'd been shut out of the process on this, already worried they're not getting enough consultation from the leadership in the shadow cabinet as far as their position is concerned. But right now, Jim Chalmers, the Shadow Treasurer, has just in the last few minutes announced what sounds like a bit of a holding position for now.
The crossbench has not announced their position on what will happen in the Senate as yet. So we will put all of our effort into our amendments, trying to get them up. If those amendments are unsuccessful, then we will have the usual discussions in the usual way at that point. It's important to remember, one more point, it's important to remember that the job that's given to the Shadow Cabinet and to the caucus of both the major parties is to consider the legislation before us and to determine a position on that legislation. Our position is to seek to amend it, to make it better, to improve it, to boost the economy now and to get more money into more workers' hands and circulating in the economy.
The Shadow Treasurer not there articulating yet what Labor will do when it comes to a final vote on this, but tomorrow night this is likely to happen. Tomorrow night is when this will go at least to the House. Won't go to the Senate until Thursday, but in the House tomorrow night Labor will have to make a judgment. My understanding is today they have reached a position, and this is not surprising, they have reached a position to allow this to pass through the House tomorrow night. Once they've tried to move their amendment, they won't succeed. The government has the numbers there, they know that. But the position reached today by Labor in their caucus meeting and in the Shadow Cabinet meeting that's also been held is that they will allow this to pass through the House at least after they've had that argument. It may not even have to go to a show of hands, or at least a division in the House where they actually divide on this, unless, of course, the Greens MP Adam Bandt demands a division on this. At that point, Labor would then have to actually sit with the government to allow it to pass. That's my understanding of what they've agreed to do today, and then actually have the fight over this in the Senate. As you heard Jim Chalmers say there, he's still not entirely sure where the crossbench will go. Now, all the indications are from Centre Alliance that they are very likely to back the government's full tax cut package. What about Jackie Lambie, though? Jim Chalmers did indicate that we're still waiting to hear from her.
Well, they're not the only part of the crossbench. Well, we intend to have conversations with right across the crossbench.
Have you already spoken to Jackie this week?
I haven't spoken to Jackie this week. The Senate colleagues are engaging with a range of crossbenchers.
So Labor's still clinging on to some hope that Jackie Lambie might side with them and demand that that third stage of the tax cuts that doesn't kick in until 2024-25, that a vote on that be deferred until much closer to that time. The battler from Burnie, Jackie Lambie, is she really going to allow the government to pass all 3 tranches of this tax cut package in one hit? But others are confident that Jackie Lambie will work with Centre Alliance to form that powerful block of 3 votes on the Senate crossbench to allow the government to do this, but then work together on other measures as well. That will be a powerful Senate crossbench block. We'll see ultimately what happens. One thing that's very clear is the government is not going to split this bill. And Matthias Cormann, the Finance Minister, making that very clear again today.
Well, no, there will be no changes. We've been consistent all the way through. We will not split the income tax relief package. It's a plan that we put to the Australian people. It's a plan that was endorsed by the Australian people, and it's a plan that's in our national interest.